Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into one of the most explosive developments in the ongoing war between Ukraine and Russia, the arrival of Ukrainian F-16 fighter jets, and how their skilled pilots are completely changing the game. For years, Ukraine had been pleading for modern Western aircraft to counter Russia's dominance in the air. Now that the F-16s are finally here, the entire balance of power in the skies is beginning to shift, and it's not looking good for Moscow. The introduction of the F-16 has been one of the most anticipated moments in Ukraine's war effort. Since the early days of the invasion, Russia relied heavily on air power to intimidate and strike deep into Ukrainian territory. Their Su-35s, Su-34s, and MiG-31s were seen as symbols of technological superiority. But the battlefield is no longer the same. Ukraine's new F-16 squadrons, trained to NATO standards, are now proving that superior technology means nothing without skill, strategy, and precision. The first wave of Ukrainian pilots to complete their F-16 training has returned from bases in Denmark, Romania, and the United States. These men and women have undergone some of the toughest flight training programs imaginable. They've mastered Western combat tactics, learned advanced radar systems, and adapted to the complex avionics of the F-16 Fighting Falcon, a jet famous for its versatility and agility. What's more impressive is how quickly they've adapted. Despite having flown Soviet-era jets like the MiG-29 and Su-27, these pilots transitioned to NATO aircraft in record time. Reports from the front lines now reveal something that once seemed impossible. Ukrainian F-16s are hunting Russian aircraft and winning. Their radar and missile systems are giving them a decisive edge. The IM-120 AMRAAM missiles, paired with advanced radar capabilities, allow Ukrainian pilots to engage targets from long distances before Russian pilots even know they are being tracked. The result, Russian jets are now pulling back, flying lower, and avoiding contested airspace altogether. The morale boost for Ukrainian forces has been enormous. For months, Russian glide bombs and missiles terrorized cities and front-line troops. But now, with F-16s on patrol, those same Russian bombers can no longer operate freely. Ukrainian pilots are striking back, intercepting incoming threats, and escorting their own drones and cruise missiles during counterstrikes. The skies that were once dominated by Russia are now contested, and in many areas, completely controlled by Ukraine. It's not just about the jets themselves, though. It's about how Ukraine is using them. Western training emphasized networked warfare coordination between air, land, and sea forces. Ukraine's Air Force is now integrated into NATO-style communication systems, enabling real-time coordination between F-16s, anti-air missile systems, and ground-based radar. This synergy makes every mission deadlier and more precise. Instead of isolated skirmishes, the F-16s now operate as part of a larger strategy that keeps Russian aircraft guessing and on the defensive. Moscow, meanwhile, is scrambling for answers. Russian air defenses, once considered impenetrable, are being systematically exposed. The F-16's ability to fly at high speeds and low radar visibility allows it to slip through gaps in Russian SAM networks. Ukrainian pilots are exploiting these weaknesses to hit supply depots, radar stations, and even Russian command centers far behind the front lines. Videos have surfaced showing Russian S-300 and S-400 systems destroyed by coordinated attacks, often with the help of F-16-led operations. The psychological impact on Russian pilots has been devastating. For years, they enjoyed air superiority, striking Ukrainian positions without much resistance. But that's over. Now, every time they take off, they face the possibility of being locked onto by an unseen F-16 from beyond visual range. Several intercepted radio communications suggest Russian pilots are becoming increasingly hesitant, often aborting missions once Ukrainian radar locks are detected. Fear is spreading, and it's starting to show in their tactics. What's even more remarkable is the technological gap that Ukraine is bridging. Despite having fewer aircraft, the integration of Western electronics, jamming systems, and targeting pods gives Ukrainian F-16s capabilities Russia can't easily match. They can identify, track, and destroy targets with pinpoint accuracy, even in bad weather or at night. Combined with Ukraine's growing network of ground-based sensors and NATO intelligence feeds, the F-16s act as flying command centers, coordinating strikes and relaying critical information to troops below. Another factor that's giving Ukraine an edge is their adaptability. Unlike Russia's rigid command structure, Ukrainian pilots are trained to think independently. This flexibility allows them to respond instantly to changing situations, execute creative maneuvers, and exploit weaknesses as soon as they appear. In many ways, this mindset is just as important as the aircraft itself. The F-16 was built to empower skilled pilots, and in Ukraine's hands, it's becoming a symbol of ingenuity and resilience. Western allies are also providing constant upgrades. New batches of F-16s from Norway and the Netherlands are being fitted with improved radar and targeting systems. Maintenance crews are being trained alongside pilots, ensuring that Ukraine's Air Force can sustain long-term operations. This logistical backbone is critical. It means these jets won't just make a short-term impact, but will continue to dominate the skies for years to come. On the battlefield, the effects are already visible. Ukrainian ground offensives are now supported by precision air cover. When troops advance, F-16s clear the skies, disrupt Russian drone operations, and take out artillery positions. This level of coordination was impossible a year ago. Russian convoys and supply lines, once safe under the cover of air superiority, are now being obliterated before they reach the front. It's a complete transformation in how Ukraine fights. But perhaps the most significant victory is symbolic. For decades, the F-16 represented Western air power, sleek, deadly, and dominant. Now, it's the banner of Ukrainian resistance. Each flight over Ukrainian soil sends a clear message to Moscow. The days of uncontested Russian skies are over. The era of Soviet-style warfare is ending, and the age of modern, networked air combat has arrived in Eastern Europe. In just a few short months, Ukraine has managed to do what many analysts thought was impossible match, and in many cases, surpass Russia's air capabilities. The F-16s have become a force multiplier, not just for the Air Force, but for the entire military. They've boosted morale, strengthened defenses, and opened the door to new strategic possibilities. Every successful interception, every destroyed bomber, and every disrupted supply line brings Ukraine one step closer to full control of its airspace. Russia, on the other hand, is paying the price for complacency. Its reliance on outdated tactics and overconfidence in air defense systems has left it vulnerable. While Russia still holds numerical superiority, quantity is no longer enough. Modern warfare demands precision, coordination, and adaptability, all of which Ukraine now possesses in abundance. The Kremlin's propaganda machine can't hide the losses forever, and as more Russian jets fall, internal pressure will only grow. The arrival of the F-16 has also triggered panic in Russian strategic circles. Defense analysts in Moscow are now questioning whether Russia's Air Force can sustain the war at its current pace. Spare parts shortages, pilot fatigue, and maintenance issues are mounting. Meanwhile, Ukraine is steadily improving, learning, and adapting with every mission. The momentum is shifting, and it's clear which side has the future on its side. Even NATO officials have expressed astonishment at how fast Ukraine has integrated Western air tactics. They've proven that determination and discipline can overcome years of disadvantage. What's happening now in the skies over Ukraine is not just a military shift, it's a historical turning point. A smaller, determined nation armed with modern technology and an unbreakable will is outmatching one of the world's largest air forces. The next few months will be crucial. As more F-16s arrive and more pilots complete their training, the scale of Ukraine's air campaign will grow. Expect to see deeper strikes into occupied territories, more Russian losses, and greater air support for Ukrainian ground offensives. Each successful mission brings Ukraine closer to reclaiming its full sovereignty. For the first time since the war began, the sky is no longer Russia's domain. It belongs to those who fight for their freedom, to those who fly with courage and precision, not intimidation. The F-16s have not only given Ukraine air power, they've given it hope, control, and a clear path toward victory. What we are witnessing is more than just an upgrade in hardware. It's the rise of a new air force, forged in the crucible of war, sharpened by experience, and driven by a cause larger than any machine. The F-16 may be decades old, but in the hands of Ukrainian pilots, it's more lethal and effective than ever. The skies over Ukraine tell a new story now, one of defiance, mastery, and dominance. Russian bombers flee, radar systems crumble, and the once feared air assaults of Moscow are met with swift and deadly resistance. Ukraine's pilots, trained to perfection and armed with one of the most iconic jets in history, are crushing Russia's air ambitions one mission at a time. And as they soar higher each day, the message is unmistakable. Ukraine is no longer fighting from below. They own the sky.